The movie starts with a meeting with President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who Colonel Steve Trevor tells to put together a team of superhuman. As a reaction to the Nazi army's invasion, the Nazis began to take over Poland. Soon after, they also took over most of Europe and Russia. Sources say that since 1933, when he became Chancellor of Germany, Adolf Hitler has used the army and power to look for old and magical objects. Hitler had put together only a team of people chosen for their special skills stood a chance. They have hired Rex Tyler, also known as Hourman, a brilliant chemist who made a rare drug called Milo that makes him much faster, stronger, and quicker on his feet for an hour. Dina Lance, aka the Black Canary and known for her sonic sound powers, is also a part of this so-called super team. And Jay Garrick is famous for being a superhero. Even Carter Hall, who is called a Hawkman and is said to be an Egyptian from long ago with wings, agreed. The Justice Society of America was made up of this strange group of superhumans. The Amazonian Princess Diana, also known as Wonder Woman, was in charge of the group. Barry Allen, called the Flash, is currently going on a vacation with his girlfriend, Iris West, in Metropolis, where he wants to meet Super. Iris tells Barry that she and he had planned to do something sweet together to get away from work. When Superman and Brainiac start fighting across town, their lunch has to end. Brainiac gets Superman when he has more people than him. Drones. When the Flash comes and helps Superman get away, Superman tells the Flash that kryptonite makes him weaker. Flash. When Brainiac shot Superman with kryptonite, he was trying to attack him. Flash ran as fast as he could to catch the bullet because he knew Superman couldn't stop it. When he first used the Speed Force, he caught the bullet in midair, but then he was pulled into a hole. Flash is in World War II because Dr. Fate led him through the portal to get there. In a fight between the Nazis and the Justice Society of America during World War II, Wonder Woman goes right up to the Nazi army and beats a whole squad by herself before Flash shows up. Not sure whose Flash it is, she grabs him and asks Black Canary to keep an eye on him while she helps the other people. Flash and Black Canary hear people crying for help from a distance. Flash runs over to help them, but he runs out of breath on the way. Wonder Woman catches him again while the other members of the Justice Society are still on their way. When Flash tries to tell them that he is from the future, they don't believe him at first and decide to question him. All of a sudden, a Nazi plane flew by and started shooting at them. Steve shoots down the Nazi plane, but another plane catches him by surprise and shoots down his plane. Hawkman flew toward the plane to save Steve, but Flash knew that Hawkman would not get there in time. He runs to the place where the plane is going to crash, and with Jay Garrick's help, they were able to land the plane and save Steve. Steve persuaded the team to stay and help the locals instead of going back to their evacuation point. When he told the others that he saw another part of the Nazi army moving toward the village, they asked him to go back to the extraction point with Steve instead of joining the fight. They were afraid that if he joined the battle, he would change the past, so they told him to sit this one out. Flash is amazed to see superheroes working together, and he wonders why he has never heard of the Justice Society. Steve says that even the government doesn't know about the Justice Society. They even put a war reporter on the team to help make up stories and keep the team from finding out. The front page Flash asks why they bother keeping it a secret. And Steve says that even though the Justice Society has special powers and skills, they are not forever, and he is afraid that Hitler would have found a way to find the team's weaknesses. After a successful raid on the village, the team goes back to meet their war core, Shakespeare, who talks to Wonder Woman about how to make the story interesting. This time, Steve gets down on one knee and proposes to Wonder Woman out of the blue. She tells him that now isn't the right time and turns down his offer. Flash finds out later that Steve asks Wonder Woman out every day, hoping that one day she will say yes. Now that she's back at the base, Wonder Woman is getting antsy because the war isn't over yet. After doing this for 2 years, and with the number of deaths going up, Black Canary suggests that they use the Flash in their fights to end this war for good. Lastly, Arman and Jay say that Flash shouldn't do it. They are afraid that Flash's actions could cause a time loop, which would make it impossible for him to go back to his own time. Steve shows up to tell the team that the information they got was useless because they couldn't break the code. Fearing that everything they did was useless, Steve gives it to the team. Steve tells them that a man with magical powers could help them crack the code on their information. But he is being held prisoner in a Bavarian castle with very tight security. Wonder Woman doesn't try to be sneaky. Instead, she comes through the front door with a Flash. When they are trapped, Arman and Jay work together to find the code breaker. Arman can't help because it hasn't been 24 hours since he used Morocco. Since Flash came along, Jay feels a little less strong. Jay used the new method to beat the enemy. When they saved Steve, Flash showed him. In the meantime, Black Canary and Hawkman look for artifacts among the Nazi stuff. Canary worries that the public won't even remember her if she doesn't join the team, even though she has done everything she can to fight. Hawkman tries to make her feel better by telling her that everything will be fine once the war is over. When he meets a prisoner who gives him a package, Shakespeare looks through the buyers to see if anyone is still alive. A Nazi guard shot him while he was still trying to figure out what the package was for. Wonder Woman, Flash, and Steve went to see if Shakespeare was still living. When they got there, they saw that he was, and the shots that hit him just bounced off of him. Flash knows that his name is Superman, even though Shakespeare says his name is Clark Kent. Flash asks him about his parents, and Clark says that his foster parents, Jonathan and Martha Kent, died in an accident when he was 3 years old, so he was sent to an orphanage. Clark leads a prisoner back to safety as they walk together, after hearing about Clark Kent's past in a different way. He knows Flash understands that he is not in the past, but in a different world. He looks for Jay because he hopes he can help him get back to his world. The others find a man who is tied down. Hawkman recognizes the man as Dr. Fate, who seems to be going crazy. He gives Dr. Fate the code, and he shows them the Bermuda Triangle Company. Dr. Fate tells Flash that he can go back to his world, but he still has a job to do and a lesson to learn before he can do that. Dr. Fate was covered by a bright light, and then he disappeared right in front of their eyes. The team goes out in a submarine to see where the numbers are heading in the Bermuda Triangle. They find out later that they are not alone because they see Nazi ships above them. They were found by the Nazis, who fired depth charges at the submarine, forcing it to go deeper into the water. When the depth charges hit the submarine, it lost its power and could no longer move through the water. Mind's Flash was able to power up the subs. But as long as the depth charges are still out there, they are sitting ducks. Wonder Woman chooses to go out to sea and throw the depth charges at the Nazi ships that are above her. When the second group of depth chargers was set free, Atlanteans helped them and led them to the nearest base. Later, they talk to the King's aide, who leads them to Arthur, also known as Aquaman, the King of Atlantis. Wonder Woman asks him to help fight the Nazis. When Aquaman's assistant whispers in his ear, he tells them that they have something that might help them in their fight, even though they were just tricked into falling into a trap. The code turned out to be a trick set up by the Nazis to keep them inside a magical wall, enough strength to hold. It turns out that even the Amazonian princess Aquaman was brainwashed by who is helping the Nazis try to break through the barrier. Flash feels useless, as he has since he came to this world. Jay thinks that they can't fully use their skills at the same time because they both use the Speed Force, which is a kind of power source. He says that if they can combine their skills, they might be able to use the Speed Force to its fullest by making their bodies vibrate strongly enough to get through. Flash starts to shake on the floor as Jay helps him, but it doesn't take long for him to get through it. After killing the guards, Flash goes back to his group and sets them free. Flash tells them that the Nazis and Atlanteans are going to attack Manhattan, which is on the east coast of the United States, in a surprise attack. He also tells them that Aquaman is going to the trench to rescue something. Wonder Woman and the Flash go after Aquaman to stop him from letting out whatever creatures he plans to use, while the rest of the Justice Society goes after the submarine to stop the invading army from getting to the city. Wonder Woman and the Flash catch up to Aquaman, who has just opened the cage door. Flash fights Aquaman, and Wonder Woman tries to get rid of the counselor. When she tried to open his ship, the advisor grabbed Wonder Woman and Mind. Aquaman briefly wakes up when a controlled Wonder Woman attacks him out of nowhere. He sends Wonder Woman flying with a punch, and the advisor takes control of Aquaman again and leaves with the sea creatures he freed. Steve and the others also helped fight back against the Atlanteans who were attacking the people. Everything was fine when Aquaman and his creatures from the trench showed up. Black Canary and Hawkman go up against the big thing that looks like an octopus, while Jay and our man deal with the crab and flying monster. Canary tries to push the thing that looks like an octopus, but she loses control of her powers and falls from a very high place. Hawkman grabs her and stops her from falling, but the flying thing comes up behind him and attacks him. Hawkman grabs the canary and softens their fall as they fall, but he dies from his injuries in the end. In the meantime, Jay was able to get some bombs from the Atlanteans and throw them at the crab. That broke up into pieces. Wonder Woman and the Flash show up, and Wonder Woman punches Aquaman, sending him flying, while the Flash tries to control the octopus, as mad as a creature. When Hawkman dies, Black Canary goes after the flying thing. When she sends out a sonic sound that is strong enough to break the creature's skin and bones, our man gets hurt and Steve saves him. When he sees that Aquaman has Wonder Woman pinned to the ground, he gives her just enough time to get her bear back. Aquaman tried to get the trident back, but she pushed him away and grabbed it from him. Aquaman gets out of Aquaman's mind control when Wonder Woman breaks the trident in half. He sees what he and his men have done and feels bad that he ran away to sea when everyone thought the war was over. Steve saw a group of bombs from the Nazis coming their way. The advisor shows up and stabs Steve with the broken half of the trident Flash. Steve pushes the advisor to the side and knocks him down. Later, he goes out to find the others who are worried about what to do with the group when they see planes getting destroyed. It turns out that Superman, whose real name is Clark Kent, has come to help them fight. He has killed all of the Nazi attackers by himself and now meets with the rest of the group. Our man finds Steve on the edge of dying. And just before Steve dies, Wonder Woman finally says yes to his offer. Since the expert hasn't been found, the Justice Society will keep looking for him. Before Flash leaves, Jay uses the combined power of the Speed Forces to help him get back to his world. Wonder Woman gives Flash Steve's ring and tells him the hard lesson she learned. When Steve died, Flash went back to his world just in time to throw the bullet back at Brainiac. Flash tells Superman that superheroes should work together to keep the peace, and Superman agrees. Flash goes back to Iris and tells her about his trip to a different world. He then asks her to marry him, and she says yes.